Hi, let's look at how to use the Cursor AI code editor along with Claude 3.5 Sonnet to draw and animate these progress rings in SwiftUI. So let's get started. We are going to use this screenshot as our starting point. You can see here it is consisting of 3 rings. We are going to use the image along with a series of prompts. In total, I use 4 prompts to draw and animate the progress rings. But once you engineer your prompts very well, you can use 2 or 3 prompts in total. To learn more about how to create effective prompts for large language models, you can check this academic paper, The Prompt Report, a systematic survey of prompting techniques. You can find the paper from arxiv.org. Before you start, you should make sure you have the Cursor AI code editor downloaded and installed on your machine. I have it already installed, so let's launch it. Once you launch Cursor, there are a couple of things you can do. You can create a couple of folders and files to start working with. But since we are going to do the actual implementation in Xcode, we don't need the files and folders. Over here, I have already created an empty file, but we are not going to use it. You can see we have progressrings.swift. So I have it as the file that is currently opened. Once you open a file, you can press Command and L to bring the AI chat window. So on the right is the AI chat window. Once you have that, there are a couple of things you can do. You can give a prompt and select your large language model to search through the web using an image or using a specific documentation. So this is the screenshot I showed previously, and this is the first prompt I gave. I prompted the Claude 3.5 Sonnet model to extract the progress rings from the image using the SF symbols seen in the image and draw the rings as they are shown in the image. So based on the prompt I gave, it also responded with this text and gave this code as the output. So let's look at the code closely. Over here, it created a struct for the progress ring, which conforms to a standard SwiftUI view and defined these properties of the ring. In the body of some view, it added a circle and style it with all these modifiers. So over here we have the inactive progress ring and the active progress ring showing as an overlay. Then on the top part of the code, it added a zstack parent container and created an instance for each of the rings. So you can see over here we have an instance of the pink progress ring, the middle ring which is green, and also the inner ring, that is the smaller ring, which is cyan. So this part of the code, that is the VStack, consists of the SF symbols shown in the image. If I bring the image again, these are the 3 SF symbols. For the arrow symbols, I think it didn't get my instruction very well. So let's see how it displayed them by copying the complete code. We can click apply to show it in this current file. Since we need this code in Xcode, we don't need to click apply. Let's copy that and go back to Xcode. Let's select the animation folder, control click it, and choose the option new file from template. You can see over here it is just a SwiftUI view. So let's click next and name it activity ring. We don't need a project navigator anymore, so let's hide it. I have the code copied from Cursor in my clipboard, so I'm going to paste it here. You can see the struct is activity rings, so let's add an S here to let go of the error. You can now see it clearly in Xcode. This is what the AI model generated. It did a great job generating the progress rings, but added a background color which we do not need, and also added the SF symbols, but did not arrange them well. But once you have something like this, you can easily go through the code and edit it yourself. For example, we don't need a background color, so let's find it. If I select this zstack, here is the background. So let's remove that because we don't need it. So that leaves us the inactive and active rings as well as the SF symbols. We can also reposition the SF symbols to the correct positions. For example, let's select the first one, control click it, and choose the option embed in zstack. Once you have it in a zstack, you can add parentheses here and align the content to the top. So we're going to move this SF symbol from the VStack here because we don't need the VStack, and place it here. Now we have the pink ring as well as the arrow right, which is pink. In the parentheses, we can align the content to the top. So the arrow and the progress ring have the same color. To see its position well, let's change it to, for example, white. You can now see we have it right here. We can also use pattern to move it up or down if you want. I checked previously, giving it a padding of -8 puts it in the center. We can do the same thing for the green arrow. So I'm going to copy this Z stack and paste here, and paste another one here as well. Then I'm going to move this ring and place it here, and also remove the image and replace it with this one. We can also change the color to white. We also need a padding as well, so I'm going to place it here. Another thing you should also do is to replace the instance of foreground color, which has been duplicated, with foreground style. So we can change this to style. So anywhere you see foreground color, you can put foreground style. Let's go to the second prompt chain by folding this code. With that, we don't need the code here, so we can select everything and delete it. So let's go back to cursor. By scrolling down a bit, we go to the second prompt. So here we have the explanation to the first prompt. At this point, I asked the model to add a button with label show progress below the rings, and anytime one taps on the button, the progress rings should draw from 0 to 1 by trimming using animation. I went ahead to specify a specific ease in for the pink ring. So you can see here I have ease in and I have ease out for the green ring, and ease in out. I forgot a period here, but it still went ahead to generate a new code. So here we have the code from the second prompt. As you can see, it added this button with all these styles, and also added one state variable for the animation. In the parent Z-stack container, it also added the background as well, which we don't need. So these are the previous progress ring instances, but now it also added these animations as I specified in the prompt. So let's copy that and go back to Xcode. I'm going to paste everything here. We are going to leave the arrow symbols as they are because I have already showed you how to place them to the right positions on the ring. So by going to the preview mode, anytime we tap the button, we show the progress animation. So let's preview that again. So for this animation, it looks like the middle ring, which is the green ring, happens first, followed by the blue ring, and lastly the pink ring. Although all the ease in equations, ease in, ease out, and ease in out, start and finish at the same time, they have different acceleration and deceleration. So we can create an impression that the blue ring is happening first, followed by the green ring, and lastly the pink ring. In order to create that perception, we will leave the pink ring as it is and swap these ease-ins. So let's change this to ease in out and change this to ease out. If we tap the button again, the blue one will happen first, followed by the green, and followed by the pink. That is cool. If this is what you are looking for, you can even end here with this kind of animation, because we easily modify the easing equations to create a really nice progress animation here inside SwiftUI. But I want to show you how you can still modify this animation by issuing another prompt. So let's scroll down a bit. So this part is giving an explanation of what happened in the second prompt. So let's scroll down. Over here, I gave another prompt to modify the animation so that when the button is tapped, the pink ring trends from 0 to 0.75, the green from 0 to 0.6, and the blue ring from 0 to 0.4. The original code generation from prompt 1 had these exact values. However, based on the second prompt I gave, I changed each progress ring from 0 to 1. So the pink ring animated from 0 to 1, the green ring from 0 to 1, and also the blue ring from 0 to 1 as well. Also, in the end, I wanted to add animation completion. If I go back to Xcode again and preview the animation, once everything ends, you can see we are now in the 100% state. That is animating from 0 to 1. So I wanted to add an animation completion so that when the animation ends, we reset the progress back to 0. So let's fold this code again and delete it and add the one from the third prompt. So from this third prompt, this is the generated code. So this animation is similar to the one generated by the second prompt. Since I wanted the progress rings to have different values for the animation end states, it added these three state variables and set the initial state of each to 0. If I scroll down, you can see over here in the final animation state, it set the pink one to 0.75. As I stated in the prompt, the green one to 0.6 and the blue one to 0.4, and also added the animation completion. But this is not exactly what I meant. I think it didn't get the instruction about the animation completion well. That is this part. We will still go ahead and modify it with a final prompt, but for now let's copy this one and paste it in Xcode. Once you tap the button, they draw from these values to these final animation values, and also once the animation ends, they erase from these values to 0. That is not exactly what I wanted, so let's go back to the final prompt and modify it. I'm going to fold this and remove the code and go back to cursor. I'll scroll down and go to the final prompt. So here I stated nice, however, do not trim the rings back to 0 in the animation completion. Set the opacity to 0 instead. So here it went ahead to say, well, understood. Then it modified the code further. So you can see over here, it added another state variable to animate the opacity for the animation completion. So if I scroll down further, this is what it did. It added the animation completion and used dispatch queue to set the opacity of the views to 0 after 0.1 second with a duration of 0.5 seconds. These are not perfect values, but once you preview the animation in Xcode, you can just go ahead and modify it to how you want it to be. So let's copy the final code and go back to Xcode and paste it here. If we press the button, it shows the progress animation and remove it immediately. So we can come here and modify the animation any way we want. For example, changing the duration here to 1 to make the progress rings draw faster, or 0.5, and changing the deadline to 0.5 as well, or maybe 1. So you can now modify the animation any way you want by changing all these values. So that is everything we have in this video. I have shown you how to use the Cursor AI code editor along with Claude 3.5 Sonnet to generate designs and animate them in SwiftUI. Thanks for watching this video.